we were optimistic that we'd be closer to a post-COVID world. But let's all be aware that at some point the light is going to turn green. All of your tenants are going to be back in your building. And I think these things are going to apply at that point. So understanding we're not quite there yet, I did want to discuss some of the most important topics that you all should be aware of. One of the most frequent questions we're getting from customers as tenants, visitors, your colleagues start returning to the office is, what do we have to do to disinfect our building? It's been empty for the past few months. It's been empty for the last few weeks. And I always like to say the source of my information is coming from the CDC. I think we've all become semi-expert going home at night and watching the TV reports. There's plenty of opinions out there. This is a novel virus, so a lot of this information is unknown, but I'm going to be presenting information that comes from the CDC, which is the best source of information out there, with the understanding that it's evolving. So every day things are changing. As of right now, if your building has been empty for more than 7 days, the CDC is saying only routine cleaning is necessary. So there are all sorts of disinfection protocols that we're going to talk about on a couple of following slides. But the good news is if your building has been empty for 7 days, the CDC is saying routine cleaning is all you need. I think that's a nod to the fact that the most recent data is saying that the virus seems to pass most likely between people in person to person through droplets out of your mouth and nose, and less so through surfaces in your building. So, basically if the building has been empty or an area of the building has been empty for 7 days or more, the CDC is saying that there's very low risk of transmission through the building surfaces. The other thing I want to mention up front is we're a cleaning contractor. You're working with your cleaning contractor. And regardless of when your people come into the office, you need to make sure your cleaning company is following the same best practices that you're probably implementing for your own staff, which is just because they're cleaners and they're doing some disinfecting work, they also need to be wearing face coverings. All the things that apply to you should apply to your cleaning company. They should know how to recognize symptoms. Your cleaning contractor should have adopted a policy that allows cleaners to take time off if they're experiencing any of those symptoms without any repercussions, without losing any pay. Those are just best practices that are out there, and there are some legal implications as well. You want to make sure your cleaning contractor is following those things. Make sure they know that your janitors should be staying home if either they are experiencing symptoms or if anyone in their household is experiencing symptoms. Again, these are common sense things that you've implemented for your own staff and for your own coworkers, and you should absolutely expect your cleaning contractor to have implemented the same things amongst their staff. Like you have occasional meetings that have probably been suspended. We're doing a lot of this Zoom stuff. When we do get together, we're limiting the team members and we're socially distancing. Same thing with your cleaners. They should not be gathering in janitor closets in large groups. They should not stay there for long periods of time. You want to make sure your cleaners are following the same principles that all of us in the community generally are following. And lastly, you want to make sure they're always wearing gloves and they're washing hands frequently. So I know none of this is a surprise. Like I said, we've all seen this on television. We've all become semi-expert in how to mitigate the transmission of this disease. Your janitors are no different. They need to be following those same practices. The next thing that's probably good to speak about is the difference between cleaning and disinfecting. People are coming back into your buildings. This is top of mind for all of your coworkers, your building visitors, your vendors, your customers. Everybody who comes in is going to be having the same thoughts. So I want to make sure everybody on this call understands the difference between cleaning and disinfecting. So you've got a cleaning company. Oftentimes people are using these terms interchangeably. Cleaning technically means removing particulate matter from the building. That particulate matter is dirt, it's dust, it's things that sit on the surface. And cleaning involves removing those things from the building. Disinfecting is slightly different. Disinfecting involves killing live things like virus, like bacteria, like fungus. So cleaning is removing items from the building, and disinfecting is killing them. Obviously, what we want to be doing these days is killing the coronavirus if it's present in your building. But the CDC says that cleaning is also an effective means of mitigating the spread. So while this virus out there is extremely contagious, as we all know, it's not especially tough to remove from a surface, nor is it especially tough to kill. So it's extremely, extremely contagious, and it could do some very dangerous things, as we all know. But from a cleaning standpoint, you can actually combat the spread of this virus with good cleaning practices, which is using a microfiber towel, a regular cleaning product, and wiping the surface. And there's an excellent chance, according to the CDC, that you have then effectively removed that virus from the surface. Of course, everybody these days, though, is talking about disinfecting. We don't want to just remove it. We want to kill that sucker. There are all sorts of products out there that claim to be effective on the virus. And the point I want to make on this call is that the EPA certifies disinfectants. And what you want to make sure is whoever is making a claim to you that they're dealing with the virus and that they're disinfecting, you really want to make sure that whatever product they're using has an efficacy claim certified by the EPA that says, yes, this is effective on the coronavirus. The other thing you want to make sure is that most of those efficacy claims have some criteria. For instance, you can't just spray a disinfectant on a surface and immediately wipe it up. Most disinfectants are certified with a 10 to 12 minute efficacy claim, which means if the surface stays wet and stays in contact with the disinfectant, sure, it'll kill the virus, but it needs about 10 to 12 minutes to do that. So if you see people spraying and wiping a disinfectant right away, and it has a 12-minute dwell time requirement, well, then they're not really killing the virus, which I think is what you want them to do. Now, there are various classes of disinfectant. Some of them are considered contact kill. And what that means is they don't need 10 to 12 minutes. Some of them need less than a minute, and that's called a contact kill claim. It kills the virus on contact. So without beating that horse too much, I'm going to move on. The other types of disinfectants that are out there, some require you to wipe up after you spray the surface. Some require no wiping. Some leave a bit of a residue. Some leave no residue. So you really want to make sure you're partnering with your cleaning contractor, that you understand what they're using and that you understand the impact to the surfaces that they're going to be treating. In terms of types of application, they can either be doing a manual approach. They're all equally good, by the way. As long as you follow the instructions on the efficacy claim, every approach I'm going to mention kills the virus equally dead. It doesn't matter if they're manually spraying and wiping with a spray bottle and a microfiber. It doesn't matter if they're using a mechanical sprayer or an electrostatic sprayer. It doesn't matter if they're using a fogger. As long as they're using it in the way that the EPA has certified, then sure enough, it's going to kill the virus. But just be aware there are different application techniques. One of the things that I've been asked frequently is, hey, what happens if we have a confirmed case in our building? And I don't know if you've had one yet, but if you have not, chances are pretty good you're going to have one. And everybody goes into a panic and, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Joe on the 19th floor just got a positive test. What do we do? Well, the first thing you should do is talk to your janitorial provider. And, you know, from a building engineering standpoint, the CDC is recommending that you close off that area, that you increase the airflow. I realize most of us don't have the opportunity to open the windows, but the CDC says if you can open the windows, that's a good thing. Promote as much airflow as possible and wait 24 hours before cleaning the area. Then go in with any of those disinfection processes I just mentioned, whether it's manual, whether it's sprayer, whether it's fogger. And once that disinfectant hits that area, if they're following proper procedure with an EPA certified disinfectant, you can be pretty sure that that virus has been killed. Again, while it's extremely contagious, it's not especially hard to kill, guys. Now, if it's been 7 days since the infected person has last visited that area, again, just routine cleaning is all that's necessary. No extraordinary steps have to be taken. I'll throw one other qualifier out there, which is if good old Joe on the 19th floor tested positive, just remember all the areas Joe may have visited. Yes, his office for sure, but what about the restroom that he may have used? What about the break area where he gets his coffee every 10 minutes? What about the elevator that he's ridden in? What about the lobby chair where he greeted a guest? So just be aware it's not just where the person works, but where they may have gone. We don't know where he may or may not have deposited the virus. So now what do you disinfect? You're coming back to your offices. You're afraid that we want to take every step possible to mitigate the spread. So what the CDC is telling us is you want to identify the frequently touched surfaces first. At this point, we all know what that means, right? We know that means doorknobs and light switches and elevator call buttons. And we know that means conference rooms. We know that means common areas, lobby greeting areas, places where people congregate. Those are definitely job one and should be your highest priority for disinfection. Private work areas, not so much really. Here in my office, nobody else comes and sits in my chair. Nobody else touches my keyboard. Nobody else touches my mouse. Nobody touches my doorknob or my light switch. So you really want to focus on those public areas where multiple people, if you've got a cubicle area with a hoteling type office where people come and go, obviously that's a high priority area. So once you determine those frequently touched areas, you also want to talk about how often. One of the most frequent questions I get is after we disinfect a location, how long are we good for? Jay, how long is this disinfection process going to last? And the answer is 0 seconds and 0 minutes. Currently, there's no ongoing benefit to disinfecting. Once you have disinfected an area, you've certainly killed all the virus that's present when you're doing the treatment. But the very next person who walks in and may be infected, who touches that surface, who sneezes on that surface, who bleeds on that surface, who coughs on it, they may very well infect it all over again. So based on your risk tolerance, based on your budget, because we all know that's a legitimate concern, you have to determine with your cleaning contractor how often I want to be cycling through and disinfecting. It depends on the circumstances of your building and your use case. I've got some clients who are saying, hey, we want to make sure we disinfect these frequently touched surfaces once a day. And that's great for them. I've got others who are saying, we really want you to be there twice a day, once during the day and once in the evening after we go home. I've got others who are saying 3 times a day. Unfortunately, the CDC doesn't really provide guidance. They just say disinfect. They don't say how often, because they don't know how much money you have to spend and they don't know what your risk tolerance is. So in terms of ongoing effectiveness, there are some things being talked about that have promise that you may be able to apply to a surface and provide ongoing disinfecting. There are some things that I'm reading about and I'm hearing about, but to my personal knowledge today, this second, there really is nothing that provides ongoing effectiveness. There may be claims out there, but the EPA has not certified them. So I have to, or excuse me, the EPA has not certified them. So I have to go with what the EPA says. Salesmen may say, yeah, but this works. We just haven't gotten our certification yet. Or, yeah, this is under review with the EPA. But, you know, it may very well work, but until the EPA certifies it, I can't really recommend it as a with any type of kill claim for the coronavirus. So here's the part everybody loves where we talk about dollars and cents. Every janitorial contract out there specifies how many hours your crew is going to be in your building, whether it's daytime or nighttime. You might have an 8-hour day porter. You might have 5 people working a 4-hour shift in the evening. So that translates to 20 hours in the evening. In terms of economics, if you've not already initiated a discussion with your janitorial contractor, you should. You should do that soon because, again, everybody's got a different idea on what cleaning in their building looks like when everybody streams back into the building. Do we go back to our old janitorial specifications? Well, yeah, maybe. Do we go back to our old specifications plus we need to add a whole bunch of disinfecting every day? Yeah, maybe. Your janitorial contractor is probably going to say, we can do that, but here's our estimate of what that's going to cost you. And we all know nobody's budgeted for that. Last year, nobody budgeted for extra disinfecting. So that's a discussion I'm encouraging everyone. We're engaging with our clients. We've been engaging with them for the past few months. And if you've not started that discussion, I recommend you start it right away. So the next question is, oh my goodness, my janitorial company is going to charge me extra. I don't have this in my budget. What do I do? How am I going to pay for this? Couple things. Until you get to full occupancy, there's probably some bandwidth within your existing budget, within your cleaning contractor's existing hours to redirect. Because you've got fewer people in the building, the janitors probably have more time. They're cleaning up after fewer people. So within their existing budget, they probably can divert some of that time to disinfection. There may be some changes you can make in your regular specifications. This may be a time to go outside the box and do some radical thinking. Hey, maybe we actually don't need to vacuum every night. Maybe we can take some of those hours and divert them to disinfecting. Hey, maybe I don't need my desk side trash can emptied every night. Maybe I can take some of the time that the janitors typically do that, and I can ask them to start disinfecting. Or maybe I just need to budget for additional staff and keep all the existing specs exactly the same. So I guess I'll say for the third time, if you've not started that discussion, and I imagine all of you have already, but if you've not started that discussion, definitely start it and get that figured out, because the light's going to turn green and everybody's going to come streaming back into your building at some point, and they're going to want to know what you've done to anticipate this stuff. So the motto is going to be reevaluate frequently, adapt as needed, try to get the best information, and keep current, because the best information changes every 5 minutes. And that's my story on the cleaning side.
Kamal, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now? Right.
Yep.
So I just said thank you to Dave and Jay. And if you have any questions, go ahead and start typing them in. So while we wait for questions, I actually have a couple questions. So, so this one is for Dave. So Dave, with the CDC recommending we increase outside air dampers to bring in more air as much as possible, with your energy model, have you guys been tracking the last couple months and see how much energy the buildings are using based on the new recommendation?
We have, most specifically with our building, I mean, pretty early on, we opened up our outside air damper to 50% minimum position, and even go higher when outside conditions are favorable to do that. In addition, we extended our runtime. I mean, that was, you know, at one point, I think it was the CDC recommended 24-hour runtime for HVAC systems. I think they've kind of retracted that and just said extended. Make sure that you're, you know, ventilating and purging the air before people come in, and maybe run a little bit longer than you were before. And we've seen an uptick in energy usage at our building. It may be 10%, but it's actually more than that from an HVAC perspective. You know, we're seeing a lot less plug load. Less people are in the office, less people are using computers. So, I mean, I think our HVAC usage is probably increased by 15% compared to last year. And I mean, it was warmer in June too, but that's something that we did. Some of our customers have asked us to do the same thing. None of those sites are benchmarked right now, so I can't talk to their results. But we also have gotten a little bit of pushback from people that are worried about the increased operational cost, even though it's probably best practice from a COVID perspective.
So is there anything out there that you're aware of as far as Excel or any energy company that will give you a break on the energy bill, or is it still too early in the game for that?
I think it's too early. You know, it was about a month ago. I had some good conversations with Excel about they're aware of this and they're concerned about it, specifically with large buildings that are potentially considering going to 100% outside air, that they're going to see a peak demand increase if everyone did that, and it's a concern of theirs. They were looking at potentially providing some rebates for utilizing some technology to avoid that. You know, there are some ionizers and UV lights that can be implemented to sanitize the air before it goes into a space. And some of the recirculation, nothing's been finalized from their perspective, but it's on their radar for sure. So.
Okay. And then the last question I have for you, Dave, is the recommendation is some air handling units have less than 13 MERV filters, and if they go from an 8 MERV to a 13 or 14 MERV, I know that the impact the pressure drop, especially at the core level. But what other energy increase would there be there for an increase in MERV ratings on filters?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, those filters have a increased pressure drop from a standard MERV 8 filter. It's depending on the filter size, it's between 10 and 20% of additional pressure drop that you have to overcome with your fan. That is going to impact your fan energy and increase the operation of your HVAC system. It kind of depends on all the systems. A lot of systems can accommodate that additional pressure drop, but you are going to see it on your energy bill from, I don't know that it'd be noticeable. I mean, you're talking about just the fan energy. So a building has cooling, heating, lights. There's a lot of impacts. You might see a slight uptick. But yeah, a lot of customers and specifically schools are going to a MERV 13 filter. The filter media will be able to capture smaller particles. And that's the benefit there. But the downside is additional pressure drop and energy usage. And there are older systems, specifically older packaged rooftop units that might not be able to overcome that additional pressure drop. So you might have an impact to comfort also.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Jay, got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So you kind of mentioned a little bit about negotiating the increase of cost for meeting the CDC guideline cleaning costs. What would be the best approach to negotiate on square footage or on different types of work that they would do? For example, increase the cleaning from the high touch area, carpet cleaning, or just overall square footage for the space?
Yeah, for sure. Square footage is a great place to start. We've got our methodology for estimating the time required to disinfect certain size area, and I'm sure your cleaning contractor has got their methodology as well. And it's really just an allocation of resources. If someone is currently spending 10 hours vacuuming, well, that person could be spending 10 hours disinfecting if you can do without the vacuuming that night. So those are the discussions we're having with our clients. We've got an internal model that's very formulaic, and I imagine your cleaning contractor probably has something similar where based on square footage and industry accepted productivity rates, we can just dial it in, and we have very dynamic conversations with the spreadsheet that says, well, what if we cut down on trash once a week and we add one more loop of disinfecting in the restrooms? To us, it's very formulaic, but I imagine your provider has something very similar. And if your goal is offsetting the cost of the extra disinfecting, then really the question that you need to work with your contractor is what can we give up to gain that time? Or what is it going to cost us to do incremental time? Because our business, as you guys know, it's all about labor.
So what do you think about the fogging machines? I know a lot of people mention that, and I've seen a lot of areas use it. We kind of use it here, but it's, just spraying the chemicals into the air. How effective is that really? You guys' experience on that?
Sure. Fogging machines are great. They work, they're effective. They rely on gravity. So you're putting droplets of disinfectant in the air, and you're counting on the fact that gravity is going to do its thing, and they're going to come down and they're going to coat surfaces, and whatever surface they hit are absolutely going to be disinfected. So foggers are effective and they work. We choose a slightly different approach. We use electrostatic sprayers. So instead of relying on gravity to do its thing, we intentionally point our electrostatic sprayer at the surface that we want to disinfect. And what the electrostatic sprayer does is it takes those droplets and it puts them specifically on the surface, and the electrostatic nature of it wraps the surface. So you don't actually have to hit the surface from 360 degrees. With an electrostatic sprayer, if I were spraying my tabletop, it actually wraps the top of the table, the sides of the table, underneath the table. So that's why we personally recommend electrostatic sprayer, but you'll get 100 opinions from 100 different people. But that's my reason why I prefer electrostatic spraying over a fogging or misting system. But those are certainly very effective approaches.
And you kind of mentioned using towels, the micro towels for cleaning. And they, go from one location to the next location when they walk around cleaning. Would be the best practice? Would that be a one entity to use, or should use maybe a paper towel or something like that, so where once you wipe it, you can actually throw it away?
Yeah, that's a great question, because what you're getting at there is cross-contamination. You wipe one surface and you remove the virus, and then you go to the next surface and you just deposit the virus on the next surface. That's why the CDC recommends, and we use microfiber because of the grabbing technology. So microfiber has the characteristic of removing something and holding it, and it doesn't, including the virus, by the way, and it doesn't release it until it's laundered. Now, if you use just a regular cotton rag, a linen rag, a paper towel, and you go from surface to surface, there is some exposure that you're going to cross-contaminate, which is why the CDC says don't use a cotton rag, don't use a paper towel, use microfiber for exactly that reason. It removes things from the surface and it holds on because of the unique characteristics of microfiber.
Then my last question is, I get this question all the time from students and researchers and instructors is coming back to campus. And we're trying to provide a cleaning kit for them, and they always ask about keypads and screens. What are the best cleaning material for those type of things?
Yeah, there are, there are so many products on the market, and since this pandemic has hit, there have been about 20,000 more introduced. There are plenty of aerosols that you can give out. There are plenty of disinfecting wipes that you can give out that have EPA certified kill claims for coronavirus and are safe for keyboards, monitors, computer mouse, all of those things. There's a ton of that stuff out there. And in fact, the electrostatic sprayer that I was mentioning is totally safe for office electronics. You can spray screens, keyboards, mice, etc. Copy machines, printers. The key is to not oversaturate anything that's listed on the label as safe for electronics. If you dump a gallon of it on your keyboard, you'll probably have a problem. But if you use it within the recommended instructions, you'll be just fine. Again, talk to your janitorial contractor. They can no doubt provide you with an aerosol spray, or they can provide you with a disinfecting wipe. I'll qualify all of that by saying that stuff's really hard to get these days. I think you all know that you might talk to your janitor and they're saying, hey, dude, I can't get it for the next 3 months. We're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, that was my last question I had for both of you guys.
Yeah.
So, like the filters for air handling units, you know, Dave, I'm pretty sure you guys are facing that too, trying to get the filters, the long lead items, and same thing with the hand sanitizer and the wipes, the long lead items. So any suggestions on those type of things, on how to procure it?
No, I mean, I think it's trying to be forward thinking and identify what you need. I mean, we're seeing like specifically on MERV 13 filters right now, we're being told 4-week lead time, but the confidence in that is not 100%. I think that from a material standpoint, the manufacturers are struggling to find the material, and the difference between a standard filter and a MERV 13 filter is the media, and not being able to source it from a manufacturing side is the hurdle that we're up against right now.
Yeah, and I would agree 100% with what Dave just said. Plan ahead. I've seen a lot of customers sort of play with different vendors and, oh, do you have it? And they call the next guy and say, do you have it? They call the next guy. They never actually place the order with anybody. The best advice I can give is get in line, place your order, and when it arrives, you'll get it as soon as it's available. If you don't place the order, you'll never get it.
Okay. Any last questions or any last suggestions, Jay or Dave, you want to add?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. I heard this was a Knosh no. I have nothing to Knosh on. What's going on here?
So I don't see any questions. So I think we might be good. So so thanks again, Dave and Jay. Great presentation. And thanks for you guys' time. And thanks everybody that joined in. And hopefully you was able to learn something from it. So our next National is August 20th. If you haven't signed up yet, please do. And then congratulations to the individuals that received gift cards. So if there's nothing else, I will turn it over to Debbie. And Debbie, thank you for putting it all together. And thank you to all of our sponsors.
Well, thanks for joining. I don't have anything else. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. See
Bye-bye.
you guys.